Welcome to the Invention Stories podcast, where we share stories of inventors who turn their idea into a product. Please visit our website at www.inventionstories.com. And now, from the Invention Stories podcast World Headquarters Studios in Morro Bay, California, is our host, Robert Baer.
Welcome to the Invention Stories podcast, brought to you by the Socket Saver. My name is Robert Baer, and thank you for joining us. You're listening to episode 29, our interview with Louis Foreman of Inventus and Edison Nation. This episode is the third and final part in a three-part series. We have Louis Foreman on the line, so let's get back to it. Now, Louis, and I don't mean to be funny, but when you hear a really bad idea, and I mean a really bad idea, do you try to dissuade them, or what do you tell them?
You got to be careful because you don't want to tell someone that their idea is terrible because it may be a great idea and it may not be a good idea to you, but there may be a market out there that actually would like the product, like Snuggies, right? And Eggies was another product that we did that I wasn't a fan of. I didn't think it was a very good idea, but the market did, and we sold millions and millions of units. So what I typically tell an inventor, is there's 5 questions that they should be able to answer before they launch their product and before they start spending money. And so they've got to figure out what's unique about the product. They've got to define who the perfect customer is. And most importantly, they've got to determine if there's demand. And so if you know who the perfect user of your product or service is, you can go talk with them. You can ask them, would they buy it? And how much would they pay for it? And how often would they purchase it? And where would they buy it from? And based on that data, you can then determine whether or not there's enough juice for the squeeze, whether it makes sense to assume that risk for the sake of some financial reward. So when someone comes to me with an idea, I don't get wrapped up on whether or not it's a good idea or a bad idea. What I want them to do is prove that there's enough demand for that idea to justify assuming the financial risk to launch it.
I'd never heard that answer before. Usually the best piece of advice I hear tell people is to write up a business plan. And on your Qatar presentation, you mentioned the 5 questions that an inventor needs answered before they even begin to write their business plan. And I thought that was brilliant. It was one of those, wow. And you're right, but one of those is really difficult. The one, how much money is it going to take to start a budget, and are you going to have enough for the beginning to end? How does a person figure out exactly how much they're going to need from beginning to end if they've never gone through the process? Anywhere to get that information
if they've got a background in accounting or finance, or they've had a business before, they're probably capable of putting together a very simple pro forma income statement to figure out, what kind of revenue they're going to generate and what their expenses are going to be. The biggest gamble, the biggest assumption you're making is on the revenue side. The expense side is relatively easy to figure out because you should have a good understanding of what your cost of goods are. You should be able to plug in numbers based on what you're going to spend in marketing and rent and utilities and travel and entertainment and insurance and all those expenses. But the real jump is, all right, well, what's my revenue going to be in the first month and the second month and the third month? And so you got to make assumptions. And a lot of those assumptions are based on the market data that you get from question number 3, whether there's demand. And so once you've talked with customers, and if you know who your perfect customer is, you can quantify how many are out there, and you can assign some value to what you're going to be able to sell based on the feedback that you got from your market research.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I want to ask you, when crowdfunding first came out, did you recognize what a powerful tool it was for collecting market research and for raising money?
I realized it immediately when crowdfunding began, but we certainly realized it, within the last 2 years. And so we started to look at crowdfunding beyond just its usefulness in raising money. Obviously, crowdfunding can be a godsend for an entrepreneur who needs the capital to tool up and manufacture a product and deliver it. We were looking beyond that, and we were looking at crowdfunding as how could we use it as really a focus group 2.0? How could we use it to really get true consumer data on not an intent to purchase like you'd get from a focus group where someone says, yes, I'd buy it at that price. But with crowdfunding, you actually get a transaction. You actually get the consumer to buy something before they take delivery on it. And that's the most pure data you can ask for, because you're getting a consumer to buy something, at the time you've shown it to them.
Yeah, I love crowdfunding. I've always viewed it as an awesome market research tool with the added benefits of raising money. I think the data, though, can be skewed a bit because I've seen campaigns raise a tremendous amount of cash, but that might have more to do with how well the campaign is run and not necessarily how good the product is. And conversely, I've seen products that I thought were awesome, they're totally dead on arrival. And that just may be because they didn't plan and prepare and execute a winning campaign. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so it takes a lot to be successful with crowdfunding. No longer can you just put a prototype online, put a nice video, send out links to all your friends, and expect to raise $100,000 or $1 million. In the early days of crowdfunding, it was possible because there wasn't a lot going on at Kickstarter or Indiegogo. So if you visited that website, there were dozens of campaigns, not thousands of campaigns. Today, to be successful with crowdfunding, you need to do a lot of marketing around that campaign. And that's why there's been this infrastructure that's popped up around crowdfunding, digital marketing firms that specialize in crowdfunding, because that's where the traffic is coming from. Those firms are able to find the right customers for that product and drive them to the campaign. And so we saw that as an absolute essential tool necessary to be successful. So in August of last year, we merged Inventus with a large digital marketing agency called Command Partners to be able to bring that resource to our customers.
That sounds like the right thing to do. Could Edison Nation just be a division of Inventus?
In essence, it is. But, it's a significant part of what we do, so it's another tool that we've got in our toolbox. So when a client comes to us, they may just need us to design or engineer a product for them. They may need us to help them source that product. They may need us to help them launch a crowdfunding campaign. But now all of those resources are here inside the building. Our whole business model from when we started this company back in 2001 was all about accountability. It was about making sure that we could be accountable for the success or the failure of a product. And so the only way you can be held accountable is if you control the variables. And crowdfunding was a variable that we didn't have control over until we did this transaction. So now we can manage the crowdfunding campaign for the client and still be held accountable for the success.
Okay. I'd like to ask you about the 3 Ps: passion, patience, and persistence. I've never spoken with an inventor who lacks passion, so that's a given. Patience, is that something you find that some of the inventors struggle with?
They do. Entrepreneurs and inventors are very impatient. We want immediate results. It's why we prototype, right? So we create a prototype and then voila, there it is. We've got something that's doing what we want it to do. Well, we just assume that the market is going to be as enamored with our invention as we are. And so we expect someone to be waiting for us, to license our product, or a retailer who absolutely wants to carry our product, or consumers that are immediately going to see the brilliance in our idea and want to purchase our product. But it does take a longer time. And there are exceptions. There have been some overnight successes, but most of the successes have taken years and years. So you just got to be patient. If it's worth doing, then just keep at it.
Absolutely, and it seems to go hand in hand there with persistence. I'd like to ask you about Edison Nation. So I can go to edisonnation.com and sign up and get access. You have a blog and forum, and that sounds like a good place to get my invention questions answered. And for $25, I can submit an idea for an invention, and you will take a look at it, and, how exactly does it work?
Yeah, and the $25, quite honestly, is really more to deter you from sending us silly ideas. So that, the $25 doesn't come close to covering what we're actually going to invest to review the idea and to consider it. We just put it out there so this way you don't send us every day, how about this, how about that, how about that. We want you to do a little homework before you send it to us. Hopefully you do a prior art search, or you go at least do a Google search to see, is there anything similar to it out there? Is it truly a unique idea? But basically, we want you to share the idea with us. We do it in a confidential structure, so the idea is not posted online. We don't have a community that's voting for the ideas or reviewing the ideas. We're reviewing them, and we're trying to find the ideas that we think have the greatest chance to be successful. We invest all the resources from that point on. So any development work, any prototypes, any patents that have to be filed, that's our expense. So if we take the idea that you submitted to us and we're able to license that idea to a manufacturer, then we split everything with you 50-50. So it's a very simple transaction. We're not an invention promotion company trying to sell you other services. We're not representing you. You're essentially giving us a free option on the idea. And if we exercise that free option with the ability to monetize it, we'll split it with you.
And now it's time for a commercial break. The Invention Stories podcast is brought to you by the Socket Saver. Do the plugs fall out of your wall sockets? The Socket Saver is an easy, safe, and effective solution. No repairs necessary, no circuit breakers involved, no electrical knowledge or mechanical skills required. Socket Savers are inexpensive, efficient, and portable. For more information, please visit www.socketsaver.com. So you're not going to manufacture it. This is just strictly for a licensing agreement between you and somebody?
Yeah, it's for licensing. When you submit an idea to us, and so typically it's around a search. So when we're running a search for companies, so let's say we're looking for pet products for Bed Bath & Beyond. If you've got a great pet product idea and you send it to us, you know where we're taking it. We're going to share it with Bed Bath & Beyond. If they ultimately say, we love this one, we want to license it, and they pay us $1, we're giving you 50 cents and we're getting 50 cents. So you have no financial risk. You're not investing any money in the patenting process, in the development process. You're basically sharing the idea with us in exchange for 50% of the upside with 0% of the downside.
I think that's awesome. I really do.
It's great for the person who doesn't want to be an entrepreneur, who doesn't want to start a company, who doesn't want to invest their own time or resources into developing the product on their own. So you may have a great idea that you want to pursue, that you want to start a company on, and that's great. You should do that. But there may be two other ideas that you don't have time for. So instead of just keeping them in your notebook, or 5 years from now saying, oh, I thought of that before everybody else did, send it to Edison Nation. Worst thing that can happen is we don't do anything with it. You always own the idea. You're not giving it to us. You're just giving us the option to the idea if we want to do something with it.
I think that's such a great deal. But do you think people don't because they're paranoid that you'll steal their idea?
Yeah, I think inventors are certainly very protective. We've tried to ease those fears because, basically our business is built on our integrity. And so we're not going to exploit inventors or steal their ideas, because if we did, we wouldn't be in business any longer. But, sometimes people just hold on to their ideas. They don't want to share them, and that's fine. But for the inventors that we've been able to help, it's been very successful.
And how do I get my idea picked as one? I mean, are there certain things that you're looking for? Do you look for something that's ringing, or is there just something that strikes a chord? Is it like, what are you really looking for?
It's really hard to say. And ultimately, it's not us looking for it. It's whoever has retained us to find it. So if we're running, a search for bathroom cleaning products, our job is to narrow down the number of ideas to the best ideas that we could then present to Clorox, for example. And they're making the decision which products they want. It's not us saying, this is the product that you guys should license. We're bringing them 50 ideas. We're bringing them 100 ideas. We're bringing them 10 ideas. We're bringing them the best ideas out of that search that we're running. How do you get through that? Well, obviously we're screening all the ideas based on patentability. So, we're making sure that we do a prior art search. We're doing a patent search. So if you submit an idea to us that you think is great, but you haven't done any sort of patent search or prior art search, it's very possible your idea will get knocked out very early on because we go online, we find something similar, and we realize that this isn't patentable. We also need to make sure that the idea is manufacturable. So is it a product that can be produced at a price point that consumers are willing to transact at? Sometimes the ideas that people come up with are brilliant ideas, but they would cost more than what consumers are willing to pay to eliminate the problem.
And I've heard you mention that. That's critical for sure.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes we kind of forget about that, but we take for granted that when we have a headache, we'll spend a couple cents on an aspirin because that's very reasonable to eliminate the pain. But if an aspirin cost $100, we'd probably just live with the pain.
And I saw, for example, right now you have Chef Man is seeking big ideas for small appliances, and you have Burns-O-Matic is searching for ideas to make using hand torches and fuel cylinders safer, faster, and easier. Those companies, they're working with you. Would you think that I should submit something like my great idea that I've been harboring in my head for 15 years? Or should I try to figure out what they're looking for and send it in, or either or both?
Yeah, either or both. So we fully disclose who we're working for, so this way our inventor community can learn more about those companies. They can look at the current products that those companies are selling. They can understand the distribution channels that those companies currently use. But at the same time, innovation is about going beyond what already exists. So yes, you could submit incremental improvements to some of their existing products, but sometimes it's about finding a new product that leverages their distribution or their brand or their manufacturing process that could give them a whole new channel of distribution that they've never had before.
And what is an inside member?
Our inside members are able to get more access to our team. So they get more feedback on their ideas. They get a lower submission price. There's some other perks. They get, a subscription to Inventors Digest magazine. But we heard loud and clear from our community that we have a lot of members who do this professionally. They submit ideas, every week, every month. They wanted more feedback on the evaluation process. They wanted more resources, and they were willing to pay a little bit more for those resources. And so that's our insider members.
How do you determine what to do in 2018? Is it based on the customer feedback that you're getting, or is it just something that you see in the marketplace? How do you know what to do next?
Well, we're very focused on our core mission, and that is providing the resources necessary to develop innovative ideas and get those ideas to market. And we do that through the resources of Inventus and Edison Nation. In many cases, they go hand in hand. And so when someone comes to me with a great idea, the first question I have for that person is, what do you want to do with that idea? How do you want to make money from it? And if the person says, I want to start a company, I want to be an entrepreneur, I want to manufacture and market and distribute this product, then Inventus could be a great resource to help them do just that. And on the flip side, if they say to me, I've got this great idea, but I don't want to quit my job, and I really don't want to risk my kids' college education, I just want to see if there's value in my idea, then I suggest that they send it to Edison Nation because it's low risk. And granted, the likelihood of success is lower, but it didn't really cost them a whole lot of time or effort to do it.
You've been listening to episode 29 of the Invention Stories podcast, our interview with Louis Foreman, part 3. I want to thank Louis for being our guest today. More information can be found at www.ventuspartners.com. That's www.enventyspartners.com and at www.edisonnation.com. The Invention Stories podcast has been sponsored by The Socket Saver. Does the plug fall out of your wall socket while vacuuming, drying your hair, using a power tool, or recharging your electronic devices? The Socket Saver is an easy, safe, and effective solution. Please visit www.socketsaver.com. If you're an inventor who would like to be featured on the Invention Stories podcast, Have a suggestion on how we can make this podcast better, or would like to become a sponsor, please contact us at inventionstoriespodcast@gmail.com. If you've enjoyed this podcast, we invite you to write a positive review for us on iTunes. An easy way to get there is to go to www.inventionstories.com/review. More information and show notes can be found at our website, www.inventionstories.com. Thank you very much for listening today, and please tell a friend.